Niner Gang. Something about today just feels different. A few storylines that were flying under the radar just exploded and are now at the center of this season. A questioned trade turning into a hidden weapon. A quiet roster move reviving the pass rush. A wide receiver living on the edge of chaos. And an NFC playoff picture that suddenly opened a door nobody thought was still there. You won't believe how all of this connects. So sit back, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive in. While everybody talks about quarterbacks and big-name stars, there's a story inside this 49ers team that can't be ignored anymore. Sometimes, the move the fan base laughs at is exactly the one that changes a season. That's what happened with a guy who arrived doubted, mocked, treated like a throwaway depth piece. And now he's changing how San Francisco starts drives and controls field position against anybody. When the front office traded for Skyy Moore from the Chiefs, a lot of people rolled their eyes. Why this guy? Just another camp body. He didn't do much in Kansas City, he's not doing anything here. That was the reaction. But the game is played on the field, not on social media. While people clung to old narratives, Moore kept his head down. He worked. He learned the system. He built chemistry with the special teams unit until he became a hidden weapon. Over the last few weeks, that hidden label disappeared. Against the Cardinals, he sent a clear message with that 99-yard kickoff return to open the game. And now, in a physical matchup against the Browns that could have dragged, he flips the tone of the afternoon with a 66-yard punt return that basically hands Christian McCaffrey a golden opportunity to punch it in early. That doesn't just show up in the box score. It completely changes the emotional script of the game. It's no surprise Juwan said after the game that every time Skyy touches the ball, you feel like something big might happen. McCaffrey echoed it. He loves how Moore hits the lane with zero hesitation, runs angry, fast, and physical, like he's been waiting his whole career for this stage. And when you look at the production, he's not just solid, he's pushing into franchise history territory, flipping the field and forcing opponents to defend all 60 minutes. In a season where the defense has dealt with injuries and the offense has had to survive stretches without its starting quarterback, special teams stopped being a problem and turned into a weapon. So, the question is simple. When January football hits and games come down to inches, how many playoff moments will be decided by this little detail called field position that Skyy Moore is quietly owning right now? While we're fired up about special teams, another storyline started in the shadows and is becoming one of the biggest factors on this roster. When the trade deadline passed without a blockbuster move, the faithful was split. Some were frustrated, others tried to stay patient. But the smartest move might have been hiding in plain sight. This key piece didn't show up as a superstar signing. He slipped in through one of those transactions that usually scroll by at the bottom of the TV screen. Ferrell, a former top pick who had already worn the red and gold, was cut by the Chargers after things didn't click there. And what did John Lynch do? Brought him back. Practice squad, no spotlight, just work, reset, rebuild confidence, and wait for the right moment. That moment came, and it came hard. In a gritty, physical game against the Browns, with Myles Garrett on the other sideline and their pass rush usually taking over games, who steps up and swings the momentum? The guy everyone labeled depth, Ferrell. 2 sacks, outproducing Garrett that afternoon, sending a clear message that he isn't just filling space. He's changing downs, changing pockets, changing what this defense can be without its biggest names. This goes way beyond numbers. The 49ers pass rush has been banged up, stretched thin, trying to hold things together. Then you get a guy who already understands the standard Juwan and this defensive coaching staff demand, and he shows up exactly when the team needs a spark. Shanahan didn't sugarcoat it. He said Ferrell has been bringing serious juice since day one. You can feel it. Ferrell is playing like a man who knows this might be his last big shot to rewrite his career. Every week he earns more snaps, more trust, more responsibility. He forces quarterbacks to speed up their reads and make mistakes that don't always show up as a sack but still win the play for the defense. It's the kind of contribution that doesn't always make the highlight reels, but helps decide games. Here's the twist. Back when fans were upset about the lack of splash moves at the deadline, this was already in motion. Now the faithful is starting to realize that maybe the biggest in-season move wasn't a blockbuster trade. It was trusting the right guy in the right system at the right moment. You look at Ferrell and think, if this is what he's doing now, what can he become in a do-or-die playoff game when every snap is magnified? While we're still processing how this team transforms under-the-radar decisions into weapons, another storyline hits from a completely different angle. This one isn't about X's and O's. It's about ego, emotion, trash talk, and pride. And no one embodies that edge quite like Juwan Jennings. The game in Cleveland was already tense. Physical defense, hostile environment, bad history in that city. Then you throw Jennings into the mix, a guy who plays like every snap is a street fight, and sparks are almost guaranteed. He helped move the chains, found the end zone, did his job on offense, but the real chaos brewed away from the ball. The turning point came when Maliek Collins, a former Niner now with the Browns, went down with a knee injury that looked serious. The stadium went quiet, players dropped to a knee, and everybody's focus shifted. According to Browns defensive tackle Shelby Harris, that's when Jennings crossed a line with something he said. Harris didn't hold back afterward. He lit Jennings up in front of the cameras, said he didn't respect that behavior, and made it clear he finally understood why other players have lost it with Jennings before. You don't usually hear that kind of raw, personal attack in post-game interviews, especially not from a veteran like Harris. That's why the big question hung in the air. What did Jennings actually say? Nobody's talking. But if you've watched Juwan Jennings long enough, you know the type of player he is. He lives right on that edge. He talks. He prods. He gets into defensive backs' heads. One comment, one stare, one block at the whistle, and suddenly the guy across from him forgets the play and takes everything personal. A lot of times that works in San Francisco's favor. There's a flip side, though. When you play with that much fire, you make enemies. You become a target. That shot below the belt he took from a Panthers defender recently is just the latest example of someone losing control around him. Jennings doesn't back down. He doesn't dial it back. That's part of what makes him who he is. For the 49ers faithful, the debate is real. How far is too far? How much does that emotional chaos help the team? And at what point can it hurt them in a playoff game? Jennings brings juice, intimidates, injects energy into the sideline, and forces defenses to think about more than just the route tree. But he also walks that fine line with flags, potential ejections, and distractions. Still, here's the thing. This whole controversy could dominate the week and still not be the most important piece of the puzzle for the Niners' immediate future. Because while all of this was happening, explosive returns, resurrected pass rush, emotional fireworks, something bigger was taking shape across the NFC. A shift in the standings that could completely redefine the 49ers' path to January. The Rams' loss in one of the most unlikely spots possible reopened a door many people thought was slammed shut. A real shot at the number one seed. And this isn't some crazy dream or blind optimism. When you put the standings and the remaining schedule side by side, there's a lane there. Look at the traffic jam at the top. Bears, Rams, Eagles, Seahawks, Packers, all clustered. Right in that mix sit the 49ers, technically down in the order, but holding the best NFC West record among those contenders. That matters. It means if San Francisco takes care of business, beats the teams it should beat, and avoids stepping on a rake against obvious underdogs, the math starts to bend in their favor. The key is straightforward. The right combination of other teams slipping turns long shot into they control their own destiny. The Rams still have to go through a nasty matchup against Detroit, a team that's beaten them twice in a row and brings a physical run game and a passing attack that exposes weaknesses on defense. Seattle's closing stretch includes the Falcons, Colts, Rams, Panthers, and then a showdown with the Niners. And while everyone tries to solve that puzzle, the 49ers' own path sets up like a runway. Titans and Colts after the bye. a chance to build momentum heading into two massive home games against the Bears and Seahawks at Levi's Stadium. Those might end up being the nights that decide everything. Home field advantage, a crucial bye, and the emotional wave carrying this team into the playoffs. Chicago is dangerous and explosive on offense, but they're young. Young teams in December on the road in that kind of atmosphere, they make mistakes. That's why people around the league are starting to whisper what the faithful already feels. If San Francisco keeps imposing its will, smashing inferior opponents and showing up ready for the heavyweight battles, the impossible starts looking a lot like destiny. But that's the challenge. The margin for error is tiny. Every drive matters. Every special team snap. Every pressure off the edge. Every emotional flashpoint. Every decision in this locker room echoes. So I'll throw it back to you, 49ers faithful. After everything we've just talked about, Skyy Moore changing the field, Ferrell reviving the pass rush, Juwan Jennings skating on that emotional edge, and the NFC door cracking open. Do you believe this team has what it takes to grab the wheel of the conference and not let go? If you do, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your take in the comments. Which of these 4 stories fired you up the most for the rest of the season? Let's make the voice of the Niner Gang echo across the league.